I don't care how close you are, even if it's your husband or your wife. Put everything in writing. If you don't, you are asking for conflict later. Hi, I'm Allie Jane Ayers, and this is Money Changes Everything. Do I need an LLC? Let's cut through the noise and figure out what type of business structure is best for you. Key takeaways. An LLC protects your personal assets, but doesn't change your tax status unless you file extra forms with the IRS. Most solo New York City business owners don't need an S Corp. If you're not clearing 6 figures, a basic LLC usually works best. You can always change your entity structure later. Pick what fits your business now. Man, I hate this stupid question, and I hate the snake oil salesman TikTok answers to it. At some point in your self-employed life, someone will ask you if you formed an LLC yet. It might be a client, it might be your uncle, it might be Greg, who runs a dropshipping side hustle and just watched a YouTube video about tax savings. Greg's life is awesome, right? No, it's not. That's sarcasm. Let's clear something up. An LLC is not a secret tax loophole, and you may not need one for your business. It's just a legal structure. LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, and it separates your personal assets from your business assets in case someone sues you. That's it. It's not fancy. It doesn't change how you pay taxes unless you specifically ask the IRS to treat it differently. If you're a solo operator with an LLC and haven't filed any special tax elections, you're still taxed like a sole proprietor. You report your income on a Schedule C that's attached to your 1040, your tax return, and you pay self-employment tax on your net income. No hidden benefits. At some point, you'll probably want one. So I'm not arguing against you forming a legal entity for your company, but I'm just saying people that need to stop conflating an LLC with a tax structure. So why form an LLC at all? If you're starting a business, you'll probably want an LLC to make it official. Also, because lawsuits exist, and if you give advice, handle money, sell physical products, or just live in a very litigious country, this one, it's worth having that legal protective layer. Filing one is sort of easy in most states. It doesn't need to be expensive or complicated. Just Google your state plus LLC formation and look for the .gov result. I'd like to take this moment to tell you about a fantastic organization called the Freelancers Union. Check them out for fantastic resources on LLC formation. How to form an LLC in New York. Step 1, choose a name. Pick a name that includes LLC or limited liability company and isn't already in use. You can check the availability of your business's name through the Department of State. Step 2, file an Articles of Organization. You'll need to submit a pretty short form to the Department of State online or by mail and pay a $200 fee. Other states are cheaper. Welcome to New York. Once approved, you'll receive a filing receipt confirming your LLC's formation. So the Articles of Organization is just a form letting the Department of State know that you would like to form a company. Number 3, designate a service address. The Secretary of State acts as your agent for legal documents, but you'll need to provide a forwarding address. This needs to be an address where you can get mail. Ideally, your office or place of business, but for many of you, I imagine this is just your home. Number 4, draft an operating agreement. This internal document outlines how your LLC will be run. It's a fairly formal process that most sole proprietors overthink. Most lawyers can help you with this process, and you must adopt it within 90 days of filing the Articles of Organization. See above. Even if you are the only member. I'm not here to give you legal advice, but most people I know who start a simple consulting business just grab a simple operating agreement template online and then send themselves an email that says, I formally adopt this agreement. If it's just you, that's fine. If it's more than just you, please get a lawyer and read a book called The Partnership Charter, which I love. Number 5, this one's a little silly. You need to meet the publication requirements. You'll then have to publish notice of your LLC in 2 local newspapers assigned by the county clerk, which run in the papers for 6 weeks. What? After the notice has run for 6 weeks in those newspapers, you'll then file a certificate of publication and a $50 fee. This is a pretty silly part of the process, but it basically weeds out people who aren't serious, and I believe was started to keep newspapers in business. Read through the Department of State FAQs on this one a few times because it's a doozy. This is where it might make sense to pay someone to set up an LLC for you. They usually just handle this and you don't have to actually email any editors of regional newspapers in your area. Number 6, get an EIN. Apply for a totally free employee identification number, an EIN, through the IRS for tax and banking purposes. This is like a social security number for your business. I wrote a handy guide to this a few years ago that still works. You can find that at brooklynfi.com/EIN. Number 7, check for taxes and permits. Your business may need state or local licenses, and you may owe taxes depending on your activity and structure. For example, you might need health and food safety permits if you're selling something edible. If you're selling physical products, you'll need to charge sales tax. More on that nightmare in the future. Super sus, the S Corp. Now let's talk about S Corps, which people love to throw around like they've discovered the second coming of Christ. Here's the concept. An S corporation, which stands for small corporation, can save you money on self-employment taxes. Instead of paying 15.3% on all your profits, that's just the payroll tax that every business pays, you pay it only on a reasonable salary you set for yourself. So you basically save about 15% on anything you're excluding that isn't salary. The rest of your income is treated as a distribution, which isn't subject to Social Security Medicare taxes, saving you about 9% federal taxes. Sounds great, right? It can be in the right context. In places like California, where the math works out, we open S Corps for clients all the time. But if you're in New York City, the glow fades quickly. NYC does not recognize the federal S Corp election. That means that in New York City, you still have to pay the full 8.85 general corporation tax on your net income, even if you're a one-person show. So after you've jumped through all the hoops of setting up your S corporation, like running payroll, filing extra forms, paying an accountant $3,000 to $10,000 or more per year, you can often end up with zero savings. Sometimes you pay more than if you had just stayed a plain old LLC taxed as a sole proprietorship. Your accounting fees are a lot higher for 2 reasons. 1, because someone actually has to run payroll and issue paychecks and make tax deposits to the IRS and your state. 2, because your accountant is also filing a whole separate business tax return for the S corporation, which is actually due a month before your personal return on March 15th, instead of just adding a Schedule C to your personal return, which you would do as a sole proprietor. This tax stuff is really awesome, isn't it? Every year, my team at Brooklyn FI closes down S Corps for people who were talked into them by accountants unfamiliar with New York City tax law. They usually come to me confused and frustrated, wondering where their promised savings went. So let me make this simple. If you're a solo service provider in New York City and you're not pulling in multiple 6 figures in profit, you are a sole proprietor with a basic LLC. You'll get legal protection, keep your tax filing simple, and stay out of trouble. You do not need to be more complex just to impress someone at a networking event. If Greg is telling you that you're leaving money on the table by not forming an S Corp, smile, nod, and move along. That's often the best advice I can give you when someone is trying to give you money advice. Smile, nod, and Google later with a large pour of skepticism. What about partnerships? Now, if you're starting a business with a partner, you are in a different category. You'll need to form a partnership or a multi-member LLC, and more importantly, you'll need an operating agreement. This is the document that spells out how you'll split decisions, what happens if one of you leaves, how you get paid, and what to do if someone dies or just disappears mid-project. I don't care how close you are, even if it's your husband or your wife, put everything in writing. If you don't, you are asking for conflict later, and it will cost you far more than the lawyer's fee up front. This part sucks because when you're just starting out, it feels silly and impossible that you would spend thousands of dollars on lawyer fees. But believe me, you can't skip this step. A business partner divorce will be much painful later. My advice, read a book called The Partnership Charter. It's one of my favorite business books. It forces you to think through all the things that are going to go right and all the things that are going to go wrong. Get a lawyer and get it done. If you're already a year into your partnership without an agreement, there's no time like tomorrow to go back and get it in place. It's like a prenup for your business. If you don't have an operating agreement in place, you can't function. What if your business is more than just you? If you're raising money or building a tech startup, then you'll need a C corporation. That's the standard structure for investor-backed companies. It allows for different types of shares, stock options, and all the bells and whistles VCs care about. But do not try to DIY this. Work with a lawyer who actually knows startup law. A bad incorporation can cost you an absurd amount of money and pain later if you end up disagreeing with investors, your partners, or employees. Entity structure feels like it should be a 5-minute decision, but in actuality, it shapes how you operate, how you pay yourself, how you grow, and how you sleep at night. You don't need to memorize the tax code to set up the right entity. You just need to pick something that works for your business in your state at this stage. Start simple, get help when it gets complex, and please ignore the TikTok accounts promising passive income from layered LLCs. You'll probably just end up paying someone like me to clean it up down the line anyway. And remember, nothing's permanent. You can always change your entity structure later. Here's my parting shot. Choosing an entity is like choosing a Pokemon at Professor Oak's house at the beginning of the game. Just pick one and figure it out later. You have no idea what your business will evolve into. That's on you to train it well to be a powerful money-making pocket monster.